The farm's history came from mass tillage, mass chemistry, mass destruction. That's the background I grew up with. So I was taught, when you till the soil, if it doesn't turn black, you till it again until it turns black, and then it's good enough. That then led into the events that created the environment for why we decided to change and do what we're doing now. We got a 1-inch rain event, just a 1-inch rain event on a 1% slope field. And the erosion that occurred just blew me away. It was on the road. The field was on the road. That's when I woke up and said, it's time to make a change. This was about 16 or 17 years ago. So the first hesitations that I had about this were, I didn't have any knowledge of what I was doing, and it's so foreign to me, I don't know what I'm doing. So it's hard, and I understand why people today may not want to try something, but my gosh, the knowledge and the availability of information today is unbelievable. And the other thing that I really like about the regenerative movement and the people that are in the movement is everyone is very nice, and it's community driven, and they want to help each other, and they're transparent, and all these things make it very beneficial for a beginner to come on and pretty much see everything there is that's involved with this journey. You have to understand how important collecting data is. And not only collecting data, but what are you going to do with that data? And here's what I mean by that. I don't know why I did this, but we started sampling cereal rye as it was growing at growth stages, 12 inches, 18 inches, so on and so on. And we were sending these samples to the lab and getting a feed analysis back and getting numbers of minerals and elements that are out here in these fields. And I start to realize that when we first used cover crops, they were used as a defensive mechanism, defense against erosion. Then when we started doing this testing, I realized they were offensive juggernauts. And then you can start to say to yourself, well, my gosh, if you let a cereal rye plant go to maturity, it's going to sequester 220 pounds of potash. Why in the world are we putting any more potash on these fields? So that's how we started to understand what this huge impact these cover crops had. And then the tipping point for me was we can start to take inputs away and not see any changes in our soil tests and not see any changes in yield. So then it's just like, wow, we've got to really start pushing this thing. And then that's what we did. We're now in 2024, we're going to be heading into year 10 of no inputs on this farm, synthetic inputs of NP or K. It's amazing what you can do. But this has to be done in the context of where you are. Are you going to be able to do these things in New Mexico and Arizona? Probably not, because they do not have the inherent soil organic matter that we have here. So you have to understand how far you can take the system. Mother Nature has absolutely humbled me and guided me every step of the way in this journey. And here's what I mean by that. If you want to motivate me, you tell me that I can't do something, and that motivates me to do it, okay? And at the time we were doing this, all the magazines, all of the ag magazines said, you cannot plant corn into cereal rye. It will not work. We're going to plant corn into cereal rye, and we're going to find out. So we get to doing this, and the second year into doing this is at a time when we were still using GMO seed. This is way back. I decided we were never going to terminate a cover crop until after we planted, because I could see what 6 days meant in the growth of a cereal rye plant on what it could sequester. So why would I want to kill it the day before I plant? Let's plant and kill it 10 days later and let it do 10 more days worth of good. So that was the plan. Getting ready to go in and terminate, Mother Nature decides to rain. Rains 2 inches, can't get in the field. Corn now is coming out of the ground and the rye is about 30 inches tall. And we're ready to spray, rains again, we can't get in the field. So long story short, the corn got to V4 growth stage as if you did the collar count, but it was the height of about V8 corn because it was trying to reach for the sky because the rye now is about this tall. Everybody said, what are you doing? It's a train wreck. Just forget the field and start over. And I'm like, no, we're going to figure this out. So when I looked at the corn, it was yellow and you could tell exactly that it was starving for nitrogen. So we went out and we applied AMS, because I like AMS because it's ammonium, it's a little more stable, and it's got sulfur in it. Every field needs sulfur now. The corn turned right around, it greened up, it dried out. We went in, sprayed the cereal rye, and it melted down and the corn came up. And you're not going to believe it, but that field of corn was the best yielding field we had in the whole farm. So I learned from that instance of Mother Nature or God pushing me into this, that we can plant corn in the cereal rye. We have to move our nitrogen program forward in the system to overcompensate for the sequestration power of cereal rye. Though that, for example, is a major hurdle that we overcame. And once we did that, it was like, wow, we now I guess I do understand why there were some people saying you can't plant corn in front of rye, but they never gave the reasons why. And we learned why. Some of the things that we've changed on the farm that are working within our context are total elimination of all inputs. Now, again, we got to be careful here. Where are you in the world? Not only that, but where are you mentally? Can you handle, going down this road? Where are you fundamentally? It's about what can you withstand? How thick is your skin? How much risk can you take? And I just didn't blindly start eliminating inputs. What we did, I sat down with our agronomist and I said, look, I've got an idea, I want to try something. I want you to give me the recommendation for 2 fields. And then we're going to cut your recommendation in half. And we went through the growing season, the yields were the same. We took soil samples before we started this project to baseline, took soil samples afterwards, and there was no change. Well, okay, so maybe we're just got an abundance of supply in the ground. Let's try year number 2. Did year number 2, same thing, yield stayed the same. Everything showed up the same on the soil samples. So we moved those fields out and brought in some more fields and started doing this, and we did this for 4 years. And when this 4 years was up and I saw that the soil tests were staying true, and as a matter of fact, in some instances they increased, I said, it's done, we're done. We've got to move away from these harmful pesticides and insecticides and chemistry, and we are going to eliminate everything. Another thing that I'm really kind of proud of is we are absolutely making this a human health environment, this farm, because everything's gone now. We're working with Mother Nature. We don't have any of these caustic acids or salts. We don't have any of the herbicides. All that stuff's gone, and we have a safe environment for our family, my daughters, my grandchildren, everyone to thrive in and be safe. And that, I don't think people think about this enough. This is important stuff. I mean, this is your health and this is your future, and we really need to start thinking, yes, we need to build soil health, but we've also got to build human health at the same time. I got an idea 4 years ago to start our own soybean variety. And I created a landrace. The USDA has a building that houses every seed known to man and woman, every seed. Well, they have a catalog in there, so you go to the soybean catalog section and you can now see the genetics or the varieties that are off patent. So now this is legal for anyone to purchase and plant and then harvest and replant for your own use, okay? Because it's off patent. So that's what we did. So 4 years ago, we bought 10 varieties, and they give you 50 seeds, you know, fit in your hand. So you're hand doing this first run. You hand harvest this, and then you hand do the second run. Then you start to narrow the varieties down based on how they are looking in your system. So we went from 10 to 5. Okay, we did this for 3 growing seasons. On the 4th growing season, we had enough soybeans to put in the air seeder and actually go out and plant in a big field. What we did was we started planting, we did it in a mile through field. We started planting, and when we ran out, we dropped a flag, and then we went and got the other variety, and we left a little gap, and we took off with the next. So we had them stacked up out in the field, you know, one after another. All right, so now the growing seasons happen. The beans look great because I'm checking them about every other day, and it's time to harvest. And I'm like, I don't have 5 empty bins, right? I mean, we're talking 1.5 acres of each one. I mean, they're gonna yield about 50 bushel. So I thought, you know what? We're gonna just mix them together. So we harvested 5 varieties of soybeans. So now we created a landrace, and we're gonna let that landrace decide who's going to survive and who's not gonna survive. And these beans are adapting to our system. And probably the more important thing here is these soybeans still have associations with the mycorrhizal fungi and many other microbes in the biome. And that's, I think, is probably the most critical thing here. And then we'll let these soybeans adapt to this environment, because the beans we harvest this year, we will clean them, and that's where we'll get our supply for next year's bean fields. And then we just keep doing that. So our seed costs have gone to 0, except for the opportunity cost of selling the seed to the open market. But I like the idea of growing our own seed, and it's adapting to our system here. It's all about epigenetics. It's absolutely amazing when you collect the data and baseline your farm, and you start to take away inputs, and you see what this does to your farm financially. So for example, we have decreased our diesel fuel consumption by 50%. We have eliminated all the inputs. So the only expense we have to go to the field is some seed and some machinery costs of going across these fields. On a farm our size, we are saving roughly $2.7 million a year on input costs. And I don't have a calculator to do this, I've not done this, but I'm going to make an assumption that our carbon footprint is negative, or at least 0. So we are actually sequestering more carbon than we are emitting, which is what everyone should be doing. But when you start to look at the savings that you get from the reduction or downright elimination of inputs, you then start to shift your mindset is no longer in a yield-driven environment. This is a return on investment profitability environment. I don't want to win any yield contests. I never will. But we're going to win a lot of return on investment contests because we don't have any expense and our yields are pretty good for the system that we've got going. I mean, this is regenerative, organic, with no tillage. That's almost impossible to do all 3 of those in the same sentence. So I really feel good where we are in our journey. Now, don't get me wrong. We've got a lot of tweaking to do. This is not even close to being perfected yet. But we're a lot closer today than we were 5 years ago. I have, in the last 2 years, started to use some biologicals, some extracts, and I've seen some success, but not as much as you would think. But in my mind, it's about what I thought it was going to be, because I feel like we've got the biology out there. I think more of what I need are biostimulants and hormones to wake up and energize what I currently have. We are using a vermicompost out of Wisconsin that is being extracted through a Hiwassee extractor. and we've had excellent success with this. This is a wonderful concept. You're actually blowing pressurized water through the product to totally wash off the biology. I think where we've seen the biggest benefit from the extractor is going out and applying this vermicompost with a little bit of molasses to an alfalfa field that is 5 days after removal to the dairy. So it's got 5 days of regrowth. You go out and you set up the Hiwassee and you extract out a semi-load of vermicompost extract, and you add a little molasses to it. We go out and we put it on 15, 20 gallons to the acre, and I am seeing tonnage increases in the alfalfa. Now, I've not seen much benefit in the corn and soybean, but maybe I'm not doing something correct, or maybe we're not adding the right products yet. But to this point, that's where that and epigenetics. I want to keep making the local seed that we're growing here. And another one we're doing it's called a maslin. It's where you blend 2, 3, 4 cereal grains together, and you create this this mixture of these cereals that they work in a synergistic way. Now, I know that they are all for a cereal grain. I realize that, but they put out different exudates, and that's increasing the diversity. In my opinion, the number one thing that needs to happen out here to really move the needle is maximize diversity. Whether that is cash crop rotation, whether that is going from 4 species in a cocktail to 12, if that's incorporating perennials into your annuals. I mean, that's a good one. I mean, think about when we build a cocktail, a cover crop cocktail, it's almost always annuals. There's no perennials in it. Even if you use chemistry, there's very few perennials in them. So we have to understand that perennials add diversity to those cocktails. But what's your end game for termination? Our end game is roller crimping, flail chopping, or let it go. And I can't do perennials then because they will overtake the cash crop. So you have to be careful, and you have to understand how you're going to terminate. But those are the things that I'm focusing on now. I'm 59 years old, and I've got about 15 tries left, and they need to be good tries. And you know, we'll be handing this thing off to Eric and Rachel one of these days. When I get a 16 or 17-year-old ask me, Rick, what should I do at college to farm one day like you're farming? What should I go to major in? Biology, ecology, and minor in animal science. If you did those 3 right there, because I wish I was a biologist, because I know there's biology going on, but I don't understand if I take this away, this over here is going to rear its ugly head, or if we add too much magnesium, then the calcium is going to affect the cow. I mean, all these things, I wish I knew how that worked. So when a young person comes to me, I always tell them major in biology, major in ecology, and minor in animal science. So the animal science part of it is if you ever get to the animal integration part of the principles of soil health, you've kind of got a background in animals, being an animal science minor, and then you can manage your own herd. It's very, very crucial that anytime a beginner, I don't care what age they are, tries some of these concepts, they have to have success the first year they do this, because if they don't, they're not going to ever come back. I've seen it too many times. So we have to make sure that the person is educated, and not only educated, but then has a support group of education. After the teacher has left and gone home, there's someone local to kind of hold their hand and help answer questions, because there will be a lot of questions. And then the absolute critical thing, like I said a minute ago, make sure we do a cover crop program that is going to achieve what that person is expecting to achieve. So whatever that may be, we have to make sure that their goals are achieved, and they'll more than likely try it again next year, probably on even more acres, because they'll realize a couple of things. They'll say, wow, that wasn't near as hard as I thought it was, and I don't have any yield drag like everybody talks about. So just to get somebody to start, I truly believe it'll be one of those moments like, why didn't I do this 10 years ago type thing. We've always heard that. And that's where I was, you know, scared to death, but then got lucky, I guess. I mean, like I said, Mother Nature was nudging me, humbling me, and we stayed with it, and here we are. We're total in synergistic relationship with Mother Nature right now. You have to have the support of the family, not only the immediate family, but anybody who maybe not be on site but still has fingers in the farm. You've got to make sure that they have your back, and everybody at this farm has my back. Everybody. And that clears my mind to be able to think about these other ideas that we need to be doing, because we've had employees here that you know, when are we going to the field? All of our neighbors are in the field. When are we going to the field? It's very, very critical that you have the support of the local family members. There is a lot of pressure from the outside world looking into our farm, because they're waiting for us to give, where's this answer for this no-till organic? We want it. And it's just nuts on how many people want to learn pieces of what we're doing. They don't want to go where we are today. I'm not even sure, sometimes I want to be there because it's so extreme. But you've got the group over here that's doing nothing, and you got us over here that's taking everything away. Let's meet right here in the middle somewhere, and let's figure out a way to start reducing inputs, making more money, becoming more profitable, and that's what people want to hear. That's what they want to hear. You will never hear me talk about yield in a presentation. If it is, it's a one-liner and that's it. This is not about yield. This is about building soil health, building human health, and maximizing return on investment. It's very hard to be a speaker that everybody wants to hear. I can only be in so many places at so many times, and I still am a farmer last time I checked. Now you might ask Eric, and he might say otherwise, but it is amazing the reach that we have gotten to. I'm not doing this for the popularity factor for Rick. I'm not doing it for this. I'm doing it to be a teacher and move people off of their comfort zone a little bit and try different things in their program. I never once, and I never will, tell anyone they have to farm the way we farm. That's not me. All I want you to do is think about a couple concepts we're doing, take them home and try them. And when that message went out, and then your phone starts blowing up and you got text messages, and hey, I saw you speak at such and such a place, we tried what you said, and I want to tell you it's the best thing we've ever done, so thank you very much. That's what makes it all really worthwhile.